I kind of have a surprise for you, Don.
Really?
Yeah, I want to introduce you to Amber, who is live from Melbourne, Australia. Hey, Amber.
Hey, Don. How you going?
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm
Australia,
good,
huh?
Australia, yes.
I know that well. I grew up there, as you probably know by now.
Yes, yes. So incredible place. Really artistic and very creative area. So yeah.
You have an accent, by the way.
No, it's good.
Good. Nice to meet you.
You too, you too.
I would love to go to Australia someday.
That's one of my dream locations.
If you go, you may not want to come back. No, I'm serious. I'm serious.
Maybe I won't. Who knows?
It's a great country. It's really a great country. So Amber, you're in Brisbane?
Melbourne.
Melbourne?
Yes.
Are you on the Yarra River?
No, in a suburb called Frankston. So it's lovely here. It's got the beach, so I can walk there.
Nice.
It's about 50-minute walk. Yeah, so it's lovely.
Oh, that's right, because it's summer there for you now.
Yes, yes. It's not too warm today. It's okay. I'm wearing long sleeves, so a little bit chilly in the shade, but it's good.
Okay, good. Good. No, I know Melbourne a little bit. I know Sydney much better, but no, I've been to Melbourne quite a few times.
Haven't been to Sydney yet. I'm going to go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good city. Australia is a good country.
It is a good country. Yeah.
It really is. Then you move to America and you get lost in the mess.
How old were you, Don, when you moved to LA? How old were you?
21.
21. Yeah, Amber's 19 now. So give you a couple years.
Get ready. But Amber, do one thing that I couldn't do. Make sure if you do come, get a round trip ticket so you can go home if you want to. I couldn't do that. I had a one-way ticket, so I couldn't even go home.
Right.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Yeah.
It's a little scary. My relationship with my parents was never a problem, but what I was interested in was music and, entertainment, knowing very little about it, but they had no interest whatsoever. So when I said I'm going to go to America and go to LA, it was like, well, why don't you stay here and be secure? I said, no, I can't do that. I just have to go. And so they supported me, they didn't try to stop me. They didn't, we didn't have a lot of money or anything, so they weren't able to pay for anything for me. But they supported me, and that's all you can ask of a parent, When you grow up and you guys will get to that point where you'll make decisions in your life about what you want to do. And sometimes for the parents, it's going to be hard to understand that you have to make your own way in life, and good parents will support that. You want the parents, you want your children or child to be to do something with themselves and accomplish something, and sometimes you have to take risks to do that. So you'll get to that. You'll get to that point a little later.
Yeah. Okay, I do kind of have a question. Who was your favorite artist to work with, and who was?
I was just about to ask that.
That's a good question, except I don't really know how to answer it because I've had the great fortune, however it came to be, to work with some amazing artists,
Yeah.
I've worked with singer-songwriters, I've worked with metal bands, I've worked with rock bands, I've worked with pop singers. My relationship with artists throughout my career is pretty eclectic. I will surprise you perhaps with mentioning one name that you might be familiar with. You may not be. It wouldn't surprise me if you're not. A gentleman by the name of Joe Cocker. Now, if you research Joe Cocker, he's legendary. He's no longer with us. He passed away about 3 years ago. He's been around. He's a legend in the rock and roll world. Had a lot of success, an amazing performer, unusual and unlike anybody else, the way he performed. Had a lot of problems with drugs and alcohol in his life. Cleaned himself up. I signed him when I was at Capitol after he'd become this legend. But the reason I mention him perhaps more than others is that he was the most honest artist I've ever met, I think. Because artists are artists, and to be an artist, you have to have your own, willing to stand up and and make mistakes and have a persona. But, you know, there's a lot of politics go into it and a lot of stuff that goes into being an artist and living in the creative world. Joe lived through it all. He, you know, he was so real about what he could sing and wouldn't sing, couldn't sing, that he was the most honest artist I've ever worked with. And if you ever research him, and there's a lot of stuff online, you know, he was a very unusual personality. If you know have heard of Woodstock, he was part of Woodstock. I mean, I've worked with Celine Dion and, you know, a lot of really big names along the way in some capacity. And Joe is just always one of those people that I felt something different about, you know, no disrespect to any of the others. Yeah. So I would just say that because he was, from an artistic point of view, is the most honest artist that I've ever actually had the chance to work with. And that's not to be negative about any other artists. You know, artists will make you go crazy. That's part of their psyche, you know. And artists have to be different to be successful. They can't just say yes sir, no sir. So, you know, they're all different and they need to be. So my simple answer would be Joe Cocker. And he's not somebody that, you know, you would, if you ever research, if you're into rock and roll, classic old rock and roll, you watch him on video, you'll see he was unusual, to say the least, but it was the most, and none of it's put on. When you see him, he moved in a very, very strange way on stage, but none of it was put on. It was just what came out of him. So that would be my simple answer.
Wow.
I was just about to ask the same question.
Yeah. I'll definitely have to research him because he sounds like an awesome dude.
He's a legend. Revered in many ways because of his uniqueness. Sold a lot of records in his time, toured for many, many, many years. But he's very different. So if you watch him on video, you'll see that he's, you know, and he was a wild man in his time, there's no question. He lived the life to the fullest, and some of it was definitely over the edge. But I always think of Joe in a very special way.
That's cool.
That's really awesome.
And my mom just walked in the room and she was like looking at me and she's like, he's really good. You gotta listen to him.
Your mom knows, see? So us older people who've been followers of music in our life, you know, we've all come across the Joe Cockers of the world, and Joe is just an original. Absolutely, completely an original.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Okay, so when you first met people like Celine Dion and everything, did you know they were going to go far, or was it like a risk you had to take?
Well, anytime you start with an artist that's not successful, is not known, there's a risk, because no matter how good I was or other people doing what I did and do, we don't know for sure how the Republic will respond. I could tell you, you've got to listen to this artist. It's the greatest artist I've ever seen and heard. And you may go, doesn't do much for me, you know, but that's your opinion. And the public have their opinions, and they're the people that make the final decision, because they're the ones that will buy the music, stream the music, view the music, go to their concerts, etc. And if they don't, and we've signed them and believed in them 100%, we were wrong, you know. So any artist that's unknown and hasn't really done anything yet, that somebody like myself gets excited about, we believe and we do everything we possibly can to help that artist get where they want to go and be successful. But there's no guarantees. Our business, in truth, is a risk business. There's no doubt about it. The percentage of artists that are really successful in our business, as against those that wish to be, is a very small number. You know, what you see on radio, hear on radio, and see on MTV or wherever you find your music, on YouTube, obviously, you know, the successful artists, there's so many millions of others that are not. You know, some recorded, some who are signed to labels, many who are not, and who can do it themselves, DIY. We don't know for sure. You know, our challenge is to make the best decision we possibly can, and then do everything we can to see if we're right. So it's a serious gig. It's not. It's a lot of fun, but it's more work than you'll ever imagine until you get into it. There's so much goes into what we start with and what you eventually hear or see or view. The work that can go into all of that, getting to that point, can be very expensive, and can take a lot of time and a lot of pieces of the puzzle. And then you get managers and executives at labels and all the other people sticking their 5 cents in, and all that is to be evaluated and looked at. It's a lot of work, but it's a creative work, and that's the best thing about it.
Yeah. Emma, I think you had a question kind of relating to that.
Do you have any suggestions on like contacts to look on your social media page and things like that, just to get your music out there?
Your situation is not uncommon. Connecting with people is a challenge. It's hard. If you're an unknown, so you have to do it, step by step by step. The more you get to play live, the more chances you have to meet people. You make sure you get their contact information without being abusive, Keep in touch with them. If they like you, then they'll tell a friend. Next time you play, there's maybe 2 or 3 other people come that didn't come before, then they spread the word. You've got to connect with them musically and as a person, and you slowly but surely build that up. Try things, be creative in what you do. Whenever you do anything online, be creative. Try to think of it has anybody kind of looked at this kind of a photo from this particular perspective? I've always said, and this may be silly, but when you put a picture up, put it upside down. And people go, your picture's upside down. Yes. And you know what? You just paid attention to that. The key for social, right? See, there you are. Mm-hmm. And by the way, you look better that way, Vincent.
I do.
But, when you do something like that, and then people pay attention, the key to social media and the key for marketing and advertising is to get people to pay attention. If you get a magazine, those that are out there, and you go through it, there's ads and ads and ads, right? Most of the time you don't even pay any attention. And then all of a sudden you go, wait a minute, and you go back to look at something. That's because something caught your attention. So the whole challenge in social media is to get people's attention. So you can do things and think of things that will be of interest potentially to somebody that doesn't yet know you. And then, it's going to take time unless something unusual happens. Say you do a couple of gigs and all of a sudden somebody says, hey, I want you to go and open for somebody. And now you've got an opening slot on a good show. Now you've got a real story to tell. People are going to go, wow, how did you get that? And you were really good. I liked what you did. So now you've got a fan base that builds because something else happened. You have to do it step by step. Be careful of going to any company or letting them say, hey, for $3,000 a month, we can do this. Be very, very careful, because most of the time, they really don't do that much for you. There are some that can and do, yes, but be very careful if that comes into your day-to-day. It is a struggle. I mean, I don't know how else to answer that. There is no simple way. The more you play, the more you've got ammunition to talk about, to put photos up, little video clips. Be careful when you put up video. If you've got somebody walking in front of the camera and the camera's in the back of the room, that's not going to do you any justice. You can get what you need for Facebook and all of the other, sites that you can use. You can your iPhone. Just get somebody to get cool photos and little clips of 20 seconds. You just sit there playing or whatever. Those are the things that get people involved. Because they say, wow, you're interesting. What are you doing? They want to know more. Then you keep in touch with those people and say, hey, we're going to do this gig. I just went out and hung out with some friends of mine at a concert, and the concert was really good. Talk about things that you do other than playing live. Get people involved in you, into your life a little bit. Don't tell them who you're dating, by the way. That's not good. But I wish there was an easy answer, but there isn't, unfortunately. You know.
You know, Amber, I wanted to focus on you a little bit. Being in Australia, how do you view the music scene where you are? I know you've had some gigs. How's that been going for you?
I really feel that the Australian music industry here is kind of lacking in the just actually amplifying music out into the stratosphere, so to speak. As an artist, I'm getting gigs, which is fantastic, and there are a lot of people that I know that are as well. And when I'm at the gigs, there is interaction, and I believe marketing is a massive thing if you want to, get out there and do this. So I've got the cards, the stand with my name, just so people know when they're walking past. If they're not going to chat with me, they're going to have, a little glimpse of who this artist is and what she has to offer.
Absolutely.
So the Australian music history and music is, I don't know, it just needs a little bit of amplifying. I really feel like, everyone in Australia wants to get to America and make it big over there, or the UK, so to speak. But I really feel like there's a lot of great talent in Australia, and that Australian music needs to be heard, and again, more amplified. So I just think it all comes back to being yourself, originality, and if you do go to America, fantastic. But always remember where you came from, and that's obviously, your hometown, and here in Australia, it's good. But
some hometowns you have to get the heck out, like I did. Where I lived, there was nothing in my hometown that was going to keep me there ever.
Well, you helped so many artists build themselves, so that was your mission here, and you did justice. So
well, you need to be honest and be yourself, but you also have to keep in mind the marketplace and what will work. And nobody knows for sure, but what might work or should work as against won't, And I'm an old soul when it comes to singers and songs. You've got to have great songs. A lot of people write good songs, and they're good songs, but they're not going to make a difference. Got to come up with, she's from New Zealand, but a very good example 4 years ago was Lord with Words. That song stood out, and that got her a deal in America. Nobody knew who she was, because somebody sent a tape, somebody who knew the guy that ran a label called Lauper Records got it, and he listened to it and went, wow, who is this? And he chased her up, and then he did a deal. Now she's got some problems because she hasn't had any hits. And, now she can tour, and she's got some credibility, but that one song opened the door. So there's the challenge, trying to write or find a song that will connect with a broad audience. If that happens, then the industry's looking for that all the time. They're chasing information online and on websites and the social media. They're watching for that all the time. They want to know that you've done something that people are reacting to, and then you get a connection, and then good things can happen from that.
Yeah, I think that Clarissa has been really unique. I know I followed Emma's progress for a while with some of the videos that she's put out there, kind of people getting to know her. And I think more recently, and really doing a great job with that, I think more recently, watching some of the videos that Clarissa, that you've made, are really impressive. And I think what is a real interesting strength for Clarissa is she's got a really fun family dynamic where your grandfather, he's still living, was kind of known as the Louis Armstrong of the Philippines. He was a saxophone.
Oh, right, I remember you mentioning that, yes.
Yeah, and the singer in the band, is that your uncle?
My uncle, yeah.
So Clarissa makes these really fun videos. There's just a really fun family dynamic, and they're all very comfortable being filmed on their iPhone, as you will, and really entertaining. And I think that getting us started at your age is really impressive, where you can really continue to build on that.
No, I think that kind of thing can be very positive, because it's different. The key is to do something, not get weird, but do something that makes people go, oh, that's interesting. If you get that reaction, then they'll watch again, and they'll now start to become involved. Most stuff that's out there is boring as heck. Nobody cares. They're shot badly. There's no philosophy behind it at all. When you do a video, doesn't have to cost a lot of money.
Right.
If you do a video, you should be thinking about what can I do to make this video separated from the mob? You know, and that's not an easy question to answer, because it's not easy to come up with uniqueness every day, but you should be thinking that way. You know, stand there and play your guitar or play the keyboard and sing. Anybody and everybody can do that, good or bad. But what kind of backdrop do you have? You know,
right?
I mean, you have to think about the little things that make people go, that make you go, well, that's really cool. You know, I've seen videos over the years. You wouldn't know the artist. He was the lead singer of Journey, but he went solo, and they had a single that was a monster. And he sat on a chair on a stage, on a stool, and it was a one camera pan, and it just went around, and the light was perfect. And that video made unbelievable impact in the marketplace, because it was not contrived. It was, and then people have done that other times, of course, but the most important thing is to be creative as best you possibly can. Be as sharp in your thinking. Don't just do it because it's there to do. I mean, back in the days when we used to get tapes in the mail and we get a bio and a picture, I have pictures of bands that would have the finger in their nose. We're standing up against a wall that, you know, and they're out of focus. It's like, this is going to impress me? You've just depressed me. Out of here. So, you know, but you do this. Artists will do this. It's like, where are you coming from? You're supposed to be trying to impress people. So be creative and be clever and be, you know, care about the little things. None of these will guarantee you anything, but they will help you put a better product out.
That's really well spent. That's really great information. And like going across the board here from the screen, I see Jacqui and Kiana and Emma all being very close friends, geographically close, where they can really come up with some creative things. We've got Clarissa with her family. Clarissa, you sang at a fashion show. It was a Philippine event, and you sang a song there, which was, what was the name of that song? That was a classic.
Yeah, Girl from Ipanema.
Oh, the Girl from Ipanema? Wow, that's an oldie.
Yeah, that was great. And prior to that, you filmed it was either your uncle or your dad, like, because it was a fashion show and there's a runway. So you were filming him walking down the runway like he was a model, and it was so funny. It was like, that's the type of thing that, in my opinion, and what Don is saying, really attracts people. Like, I want to continue to follow this family because they're really entertaining, you know, and it was simple. It wasn't expensive. The setup was already there. Amber, I think, I've known Amber for about 3 years. Actually, I've known Amber longer than any of you, actually, from the CD. And Amber, you've got an incredible sense of humor, like just a really great spirit and fun, and seeing the pictures with your boyfriend and your family, and just really great stuff. And so in my opinion, that would be a really strong area of yours to really focus on, because when people get to know you, they want to continue to follow what you're doing.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The personal, I think it's social media is very like revealing of your personal life, so to speak, if that makes sense. I mean, not always, but I really just want to be real, raw and honest to my audience and, you know, show them what I'm doing during the day. Not always. I like to also keep things to myself, you know what I'm trying to say. But here and there, giving out, you know, posts of, what I'm doing and all that stuff. That's great. Oh, and gigs as well, letting people know about gigs and stuff. That's really important too.
Well, that's the key to your center. You're an artist, so playing gigs, you know. The live thing is very important, you know. And a lot of artists can't really go out and get gigs because they're not good enough, for one thing. They think they are, but they're not, you know, and they don't know how to present themselves. So these are little things that really mean a lot in the big picture. But, you know, you want them to feel that they can touch you, but they can't.
Yes.
Right?
That's right.
I want to...
all that saying, you know, where you've been following this artist for so long, and you meet them and you go, oh my God, I love you, but they actually go, who the heck are you? But it's because of that relationship via social media, correct?
Yeah, social media can do that, can really do that. You know, social media is very competitive, as you well know, and everybody can be on social media, and most people should be off social media because nothing there that you want to get excited about at all. But what we use today, you know, we can look at this. This is social media in a way today. This is a form of social media.
Yeah.
Talking to you guys in, you know, Colorado and Australia. I'm here in LA. I mean, this is social media. This is connecting. We're coming from more of a professional point of view, but this is what the world is about today.
That's right.
Yeah, it's really good.
How well you do it, and if you have a personality, that really can help you a lot. You know, don't fake it. If you can't make a smile, you know, naturally, don't smile. You know, that's kind of dumb to say, but I mean, don't try and fake it. People see through fakes real quick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, this has been really, really cool. Our call is time-wise wrapping up here. Don, thank you, man. Really, really appreciate you talking to these gals.
Nice
ladies.
Ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
There's an old expression, see you on the charts.
See you on the charts. I like that. I like that.